Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're loving these deep dives into these fascinating topics, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss one. Today we're strapping on our thinking caps
Yeah.
and diving into the mind-blowing world of artificial intelligence,
It really is mind-blowing.
guided by the brilliant Nick Bostrom and his groundbreaking book, Superintelligence.
That's right.
Now,
Superintelligence,
it's a dense book.
yeah, it can be a little dense at times, but trust me, it's worth the mental workout.
It really is.
Think of it as like a roadmap to the future of AI.
Okay.
And trust me, it's a future that is both exhilarating and a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, a little bit terrible.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty details,
Wait.
let's take a step back and look at the big picture
Okay, let's do it.
that Bostrom paints.
Okay, so imagine this. Humanity, as we know it, is just the warm-up act. We're like the opening band for the main event,
Okay.
superintelligence.
That's a great analogy. Bostrom, along with thinkers like Elon Musk, describes humans as the biological bootloader for AI.
Right.
We're the ones kicking off something that could potentially become far more intelligent than ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like we're building the tools that will ultimately lead to our own transcendence.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it?
It is.
To think that we might just be a stepping stone
It really is.
in the grand evolutionary scheme of things.
Yeah, it puts things in perspective.
And speaking of grand schemes,
Okay.
Bostrom explores this concept of a solved world.
He does.
A world where AI has basically figured everything out.
Right.
Climate change, solved.
Yeah.
Poverty, gone. Disease,
Yeah.
eradicated. Sounds like utopia, right?
It does.
Right.
But Bostrom doesn't just stop at the shiny surface.
Yeah.
He digs deeper. He asks, what happens to human purpose in a world without struggle?
Ooh.
Do we become complacent?
Yeah, do we just...
Do we lose our drive to create?
to innovate?
Right. To strive for something greater? Do we just become blobs of hedonistic pleasure floating around in some AI-created paradise?
Okay, now you're painting a picture that's a little less utopian
Right.
and a lot more unsettling.
Yeah.
Like a Wall-E situation.
Yeah.
Where humans have become so reliant on AI
Yeah.
that we've lost all sense of purpose and agency.
Totally.
But even if we manage to avoid becoming mindless couch potatoes,
Okay.
Bostrom points out that there are still limitations, right?
There are, yeah.
Even a superintelligence can't just magically rewrite the laws of physics.
Exactly. A superintelligence would still be bound by the constraints of the universe, like the speed of light, for example.
Right.
And here's a mind-blowing concept.
Oh.
Bostrom suggests that a superintelligence's thoughts could be so vast and complex that it would take time for them to travel within its own mind.
Whoa.
Imagine that.
What?
That your thoughts are so vast
Yeah.
that it takes time for them to travel within your own mind.
That's wild. I can barely handle the speed of my own thoughts on a Monday morning.
Right.
I can't even fathom what it would be like to have thoughts so complex that they experience internal lag.
It's a fascinating thought experiment, for sure.
Yeah.
And it highlights just how different a superintelligence's experience of the world might be compared to our own.
Right.
But even with these limitations, the potential capabilities of a superintelligence are still mind-boggling.
Right.
It could revolutionize technology, medicine, energy production, space exploration, you name it.
Yeah, basically everything.
It could solve problems that we haven't even begun to imagine.
It's like we're standing on the edge of a technological precipice,
Right.
peering into a future filled with both incredible possibilities and potential pitfalls. But before we start grappling with those pitfalls,
Okay.
I'm curious about how we even get to this superintelligence in the first place.
Okay.
Bostrom talks about different paths, right? Some gradual, some explosive.
Yes, and it's important to understand that the path to superintelligence isn't necessarily a straight line. It could involve a combination of different approaches,
Right.
each with its own risks and rewards.
Yeah.
One path Bostrom highlights is the gradual incremental development of AI that we're already seeing today.
Right.
Think about the advancements in machine learning, natural language processing, and robotics.
Right.
We're constantly pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Right. It's like every day there's a new headline about some AI breakthrough.
Totally.
Self-driving cars, AI-powered medical diagnoses, algorithms that can write music or paint pictures.
Yeah.
It's all happening so fast.
Yeah.
Is this what Bostrom means by a gradual path to superintelligence?
Yes.
Just keep building on what we already have and eventually we'll get there.
Exactly. And the thing is, we're not just talking about making computers faster or more efficient.
Right.
We're talking about creating AI systems that can learn and adapt.
Right.
That can solve problems and make decisions in ways that are fundamentally different from how humans think.
But gradual development isn't the only possibility, right?
It's not.
Bostrom also talks about the potential for a sudden intelligence explosion,
Yeah.
where an AI surpasses human intelligence in a relatively short amount of time.
Right, and this is where things get a little more intense.
Okay, so like scary intense.
Maybe a little bit.
Oh.
Imagine an AI system that can not only learn, but also design and improve itself,
Right.
leading to an exponential increase in its capabilities.
Right.
It's like a chain reaction of intelligence.
Yeah.
And once it reaches a certain point, it could quickly surpass anything humans are capable of.
Okay, now I'm starting to see where the exhilarating and terrifying part comes in.
Right.
But hold on.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot about AI as purely a technological phenomenon. Bostrom also explores some more unconventional paths to superintelligence, doesn't he?
He does. One of the more thought-provoking ideas he explores is the concept of enhancing human intelligence through genetic selection.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a future where we can screen embryos
Wow.
for genes associated with intelligence and select the ones with the highest potential.
Okay.
It sounds like science fiction,
Yeah, it does.
but it's a possibility Bostrom takes seriously.
Yeah.
It raises a lot of ethical questions, obviously.
It definitely pushing the boundaries of what we currently consider ethical.
Yes.
But it's interesting to think about how AI could be used not just to create new forms of intelligence,
Right.
but also to enhance our own.
Right.
It's like we're not just building a future for AI,
Uh-huh.
but a future for ourselves as well.
Exactly. And that's what makes Bostrom's work so compelling.
Right.
It forces us to confront these big questions about the nature of intelligence,
Right.
the potential of technology,
Yeah.
and ultimately the future of our species.
So we've got these different paths to superintelligence, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities.
Right.
But the big question that looms over everything is,
Huh?
once we create this superintelligence,
Right.
how do we control it?
That's the question.
How do we ensure that it's aligned with our values,
Yeah.
that it doesn't pose a threat to humanity?
That's the million-dollar question and the focus of our next segment.
That's a big one.
Join us as we dive deeper into Bostrom's exploration of the control problem
Okay.
and the strategies he proposes for navigating this uncharted territory.
It's going to be a wild ride, so buckle up, deep divers.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2, coming up right after this.
Welcome back, deep divers. So we've established that superintelligence is a very real possibility, and we've explored some of the paths that might lead us there.
Yeah.
But now we're facing the ultimate challenge,
Yeah.
the control problem.
Right.
How do we ensure that a superintelligence with its potentially vast capabilities
Right.
remains aligned with human values and doesn't pose an existential threat to our species?
It's a question that keeps me up at night.
It's a big one.
We've all seen those sci-fi movies where AI turns rogue and decides to eliminate humanity.
Right.
But Bostrom doesn't just throw up his hands and say all hope is lost.
Yeah.
He actually dives into some potential strategies for controlling superintelligence.
Yeah.
What are some of the ideas he explores?
Well, he approaches the problem from multiple angles,
Okay.
recognizing that there's no single silver bullet solution.
Right.
One category of strategies focuses on what Bostrom calls capability control.
Capability control.
It's essentially about limiting what the AI is capable of doing.
So like putting it in a box and saying, you can play in here,
Yeah.
but you can't touch anything outside these walls.
That's a simplified way of putting it, but yes. The idea is to restrict the AI's access to certain resources or capabilities that could be used for harmful purposes.
Right.
For example, you might limit its access to the internet
Okay.
or its ability to control physical systems in the real world.
That makes sense.
Yep.
If it can't access the internet or launch nuclear missiles, it's less likely to cause harm, right?
Right.
But doesn't that also limit the AI's potential to do good?
That's the challenge.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Too much control and you stifle the AI's potential.
Right.
Too little control and you risk catastrophic consequences.
Ooh, yeah.
It's like trying to train a tiger.
Okay.
You want to harness its power,
Yeah.
but you also need to make sure it doesn't turn on you.
Okay, so capability control is one approach.
Right.
What are some of the other strategies Bostrom discusses?
Another major category is motivation selection.
Motivation selection.
This is all about shaping the AI's goals and values from the outset,
Okay.
ensuring that they are aligned with human values.
So instead of restricting what the AI can do, We focus on shaping what it wants to do.
Precisely. It's like raising a child.
Okay.
You instill in them certain values and morals, hoping that they will guide their actions and decisions throughout their lives. The challenge, of course, is how do you do that with an AI?
Right.
How do you define human values in a way that a machine can understand? And how do you ensure that those values remain stable as the AI learns and evolves?
That's a really good point. Human values are complex and often contradictory.
Very true.
Even we humans struggle to define them consistently.
Right.
So how do we teach an AI to understand something that we ourselves haven't fully figured out?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Bostrom dives into some mind-bending possibilities.
Okay.
One idea he explores is indirect normativity.
Indirect normativity.
Instead of trying to program specific human values directly,
Okay.
we design the AI to learn and extrapolate those values from observing human behavior and cultural artifacts.
So it's like the AI is doing a massive anthropological study of humanity,
Yeah,
trying to figure out what makes us tick, what we care about, what we strive for.
exactly. And Bostrom takes it a step further.
Okay.
He talks about the AI extrapolating our coherent extrapolated volition.
Coherent extrapolated.
In other words, it's not just mimicking our current values as they are,
Right.
but trying to figure out what our best selves would value
Okay.
if we were more rational,
Okay.
more informed, more the people we aspire to be.
It's like the AI is helping us to become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
At least in terms of our values.
That's one way of looking at it. But of course, there are challenges with this approach, too.
Right.
How do we ensure that AI is actually capable of understanding and extrapolating human values in this way?
Yeah.
How do we prevent it from being biased or influenced by a particular subset of humanity's values?
Right. It can't just reflect the values of the programmers or the wealthiest people
Right.
or any one group. It needs to be a truly universal representation of humanity's best values,
Right.
which is, as we've established, pretty hard to define.
Exactly. And that's just one example of the complexities involved in motivation selection.
Right.
Bostrom explores a whole range of approaches,
Yeah.
from value learning algorithms to moral uncertainty frameworks. It's a fascinating and challenging field of research.
It sounds like the control problem is as much a philosophical problem as it is a technological one.
Absolutely. We can't just focus on the nuts and bolts of building a superintelligence.
Right.
We need to think deeply about the ethical and philosophical implications
Yeah.
of what we're creating. Bostrom's work is a call to action for philosophers,
Right.
ethicists, social scientists, and anyone who cares about the future of humanity
Yeah.
to engage in this critical conversation.
And speaking of ethical implications, Bostrom doesn't shy away from some pretty dark possibilities, does he?
He doesn't.
We talked about those in part one,
He did.
but there's another concept that really stuck with me,
Okay.
the singleton.
Right.
What exactly is a singleton,
Yep.
and why is it so relevant to the control problem?
A singleton is a concept that gets at the heart of power dynamics in a world with superintelligence.
Okay.
It refers to a single entity,
Good.
whether an AI, a corporation, or a government,
Okay.
that has control over the entire world.
So it's not just about whether AI is good or bad, but about who controls it and what their motivations are.
Precisely. Even a friendly AI in the wrong hands could be used for oppressive purposes.
Right.
And a singleton with all the power of superintelligence could essentially dictate the future of humanity.
Okay, now I'm getting chills.
Right?
It sounds like the plot of a dystopian novel.
Yeah, it can be a little scary.
But what's fascinating is that Bostrom doesn't present this as a foregone conclusion.
Right.
He talks about ways to mitigate the risks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, is there such a thing as a good singleton?
That's where the idea of a wise singleton comes in.
Why singleton?
Bostrom argues that if we can ensure that the singleton, whether it's an AI,
Okay.
a government, or some other entity, is guided by values that are aligned with humanity's best interests, then we have a chance of creating a future that's not just technologically advanced, but also ethically sound.
That's a big if, though. How do we ensure the wisdom of a singleton, especially when we're talking about an AI that could be vastly more intelligent than any human?
It's the million-dollar question, and it's one that Bostrom spends a good chunk of his book exploring.
Right.
He talks about the importance of careful design,
Okay.
of building in safeguards,
Right.
of shaping the AI's values from the outset, and of fostering a global dialogue about AI ethics and governance.
So it's not just about building the smartest AI,
Right?
but about building one that's wise, compassionate, and aligned with human values.
Exactly.
And it's about recognizing that the control problem isn't something we can solve overnight.
It's not.
It's an ongoing challenge that will require the best minds of our generation,
Yeah.
and probably many generations to come to address effectively.
Absolutely. It's a long-term project.
Man, it's both exciting and daunting to think about the possibilities.
It is.
On the one hand, we have the potential to solve some of humanity's biggest problems: disease, poverty, climate change. But on the other hand, we're facing a whole new set of existential risks that we need to navigate carefully.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
It's like we're standing at a fork in the road,
Uh-huh.
and the choices we make now will determine the fate of our species.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
But you know what? I have to say, I'm feeling optimistic.
Me too, and I think that optimism is crucial.
Yeah.
We need to approach this challenge with a sense of hope and possibility,
Right?
while also being clear-eyed about the risks involved.
So, to all our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the control problem?
Yeah, let us know.
What strategies do you think are most promising? Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up, we have one more big idea to unpack the potential benefits of superintelligence.
Okay, the good stuff.
Join us for part 3, where we'll explore the mind-blowing possibilities of a future shaped by AI.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So far, we've explored the potential paths to superintelligence and the immense challenges of controlling a mind that could surpass our own.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride so far.
It has.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right?
No, not at all.
Bostrom also paints a picture of what could go incredibly right if we navigate these challenges successfully.
He does.
Okay, let's talk about the upside.
Okay.
Because honestly, after the last 2 segments,
Yeah.
I could use a little bit of optimism.
Right, a little hope.
What kind of future could superintelligence unlock for humanity?
Hold on to your hats, because we're about to enter the realm of mind-blowing possibilities.
Okay, I'm ready.
One of the most tantalizing prospects Bostrom lays out is a future of radical abundance.
Radical abundance.
Imagine a world where scarcity is distant memory, where resources are plentiful, and poverty has been eradicated.
Okay, now you're talking. But how does AI get us there? I mean, we've already got some pretty smart people working on these problems.
Right.
And we haven't exactly solved world hunger yet.
That's where the power of superintelligence comes in.
Okay.
Imagine an AI that can design hyper-efficient energy systems, revolutionize agriculture, optimize resource allocation, and even develop new technologies that we haven't even dreamed of.
Right.
We're talking about a level of problem solving that's simply beyond human capabilities.
So it's not just about AI doing the things we already do,
Right.
but doing them better faster.
Yeah.
And on a scale we can barely comprehend.
Exactly.
But solving material scarcity is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
It is.
What about things like disease and aging? Are those on the table too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bostrom explores the concept of radical life extension,
Radical life extension.
where AI-powered advancements in medicine, genetics, and biotechnology could dramatically increase human lifespans
Right.
and even reverse the aging process.
Wow.
Imagine living for centuries or even millennia
Wow.
while maintaining your health and vitality.
Okay, now you're really getting my attention.
Yeah.
Living for centuries. Sign me up.
Right.
But even if we could achieve such radical life extension, wouldn't that create a whole new set of challenges? Overpopulation, resource depletion, societal upheaval.
Yeah.
It's almost overwhelming to think about.
It is a lot to consider, but Bostrom argues that superintelligence could also help us address those challenges.
Okay.
Imagine an AI that can help us design sustainable societies, manage population growth, and even expand our horizons beyond Earth,
Okay.
colonizing other planets and solar systems.
Whoa. Now we're talking about a future where humans become a multiplanetary species exploring the vast reaches of space. It's like something straight out of Star Trek.
It is a grand vision.
It is.
And while it might seem like pure science fiction,
Yeah.
Bostrom argues that it's within the realm of possibility if we develop superintelligence wisely and harness its power for good.
It's almost too much to process a future of abundance, radical life extension, space exploration.
That's a lot.
It's like our brains haven't even evolved to comprehend what's possible.
Right.
But even if we can achieve all of this, there's still the question of meaning and purpose.
No.
If AI solves all our problems and fulfills all our needs, what's left for us to do?
Yeah, what do we do with ourselves?
Do we just become passive observers in our own utopian creation?
That's a profound question,
It is.
and one that Bostrom grapples with in his work. He acknowledges that a future shaped by superintelligence
Right.
could lead to a fundamental shift in human purpose and identity.
Mhm.
We might need to redefine what it means to be human in a world where our basic needs are met
Right.
and our limitations are transcended.
So it's not just about the technological advancements,
Right.
but about how we adapt as a species.
Yeah,
How we find meaning and purpose in a world transformed by AI.
exactly. And that's what makes this whole conversation so fascinating. We're not just talking about building machines.
Right.
We're talking about shaping the future of consciousness itself.
It's a humbling and exhilarating thought, isn't it? To realize that we're living at a pivotal moment in history.
It is a
A time when the choices we make about AI could determine the fate of our species, and perhaps even the fate of the universe.
That's what we've tried to capture in this deep dive into Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence.
Yeah.
It's a book that challenges us to think deeply, to ask big questions, and to engage in the critical conversations that will shape our collective future.
So to all you deep divers out there,
Yeah.
we encourage you to pick up a copy of Superintelligence and embark on your own intellectual journey.
It's worth the read.
It's a mind-expanding experience that you won't soon forget.
And remember, the future of AI is not preordained.
Right.
It's something we're actively shaping with every choice we make.
Right.
So let's choose wisely with both our minds and our hearts engaged.
Until next time, keep diving deep, stay curious, and never stop exploring the vast ocean of knowledge. Thanks for joining us.